Welcome back to Hell Fortress Cathedral Midnight, the Enochian Terror Transmissions. On today's episode, I am talking to my good friend, Deidre Ray Crouch, also known as Pitface. Yes, the namesake of the Surgery Head song. Pitface is a long-time underground comic artist with her epic thrash metal horror story, Putrid Meat, being available to read on The Duck. She has also worked on a World War II-based webcomic called Brave Resistance, and currently has an insane-sounding cinematic horror comic up on The Duck called Inhabitants, which I highly, highly recommend you read. Deidre Ray Crouch is also a longtime thrash metalhead and archaeologist. And we also talk about the history of underground comics in Detroit. Enjoy.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, like a dumbass, I took a drink of my iced coffee just before I picked up, so I've got an ice cube in my mouth. Just give me 1 second.
Okay, take your time. That's a good way to start the day. You're up early.
Yeah, well, I start work in about an hour, and I usually get up around 7, which means nothing to you. It's about 7 here right now. So, I mean, it's around my usual time, but working stiff, you know.
I've been finding it a lot harder to get up early these days, especially since working from home. I find myself just, like, getting down to the wire in my fucking dressing gown in front of the computer, just like, yeah, I'm here, I'm in work, you know?
Yeah, right. It's kind of nice. Like, do I have pants on? That's optional today. Like, how do we want to do this?
Yeah, it makes actually putting clothes on feel like a special occasion, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's certainly a thing at the moment, for sure.
Well, it's definitely my new norm now, so that's the world we're living in.
Have you got your jab yet? Have you gotten vaccinated?
No, I am scheduled to get my first one not until June 1st.
Oof. Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
God, I don't know when until my age groups that my country's really, really fucked up the rollout. It's bad.
Oh God, yeah. I don't know much about what it's been like in Ireland. So what's been the hiccup?
A combination of government incompetence and apathy, and just failure to secure vaccines. I think the EU is kind of using Ireland as its kind of like. We don't need to worry about them. That's just our little tax haven island.
You're the control group.
We're the nuclear whipping boy of Europe. That's
right. Oh God, that's terrible. I'm so sorry to hear that. This has been such bullshit. It's like, God, it really brings out where the broken systems are through this whole fucking thing in a number of ways. You know, it's like, God.
And it's hard now. People are noticing it more and more, but it's hard to get out and like kick up a stink about it because of the virus.
Yeah. And now I'm sure I'm adding to all of my complexes. Like, you know, like if somebody's within a certain sphere of my person, I'm like, God, get away, you know, plague fiend.
Yeah, it's rough. And I think it'll take a lot of people a while to recover from that. Honestly, it's probably going to make people a lot more paranoid, a lot more germophobic and stuff like that. Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all around, for many reasons, this whole thing has been traumatic for a lot of people. And like, I don't know, maybe since I got my diagnosis, I'm just seeing the PTSDs everywhere, but I'm seeing them everywhere now. Like, yes. I think everybody's got a little bit of the PTSDs.
Well, I think
we're all.
Yeah, I think that's a symptom of just growing up in a really, really fucked up world. It's kind of like we're taught through trauma, so everybody kind of has PTSD because like that's how people are taught to remember things or to do things, just by like bullying them and traumatizing them and shit. I do think I was gonna say that like something that's definitely come up now is I've become a lot more aware of my own kind of mental issues, and I've like started going to therapy and stuff, and I think a lot of people are becoming more aware of what's going on in their heads from being cooped up for so long.
Definitely. Yeah, good for you, by the way. That's a big step. It's an important one too. I hope you're getting some relief out of it.
Yeah, it's pretty basic. I mean, I've not got too much going on. Like I know people who have far worse issues than I have, to the point where, like, for the longest time I was like, why the fuck should I go to therapy? Like, my problems are nothing compared to this person's problems or this person's problems. But it's just like, everybody's got a couple of wires that they need uncrossing or whatever, so they don't make
Absolutely.
mistakes.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's like, yeah, I get caught up kind of doing that too sometimes, comparing myself to other people. Like, well, I mean, with the PTSD thing, especially when it was starting off, it was kind of hard to realize that I had it, because I'm like, well, it's not like I went to fucking war. I'm not waking up in the middle of the night screaming, like. But the more I talked to my therapist about it, the more I started to realize how much things had changed in the past couple years, of what things were like a few years ago versus what they're like now. If it was like a happy meter, like my happy meter a few years ago was like happiness and being content was my standard, was my norm. And now slowly it's changed so that that arrow is on the other side of the meter, where happiness and being content is the exception. And somewhere along the line, that went the other way, and I didn't notice it had gone so far, and that's what I kind of realized. And that's when I stopped comparing myself to other people. It's like, no, this is my problem, and I want to feel better, so, and I deserve to feel better, and you deserve to feel better too. So go get it, sister.
Yeah, self comparison is a really difficult thing when you're an artist, especially an independent artist, because not only are there a bunch of other independent artists that you look at, you see the success and their skill, and it's an easy dirty fuel for making art is jealousy and anger, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, and then on top of that, you have now that we have Twitter, you have like Hollywood people. Like the other day, I saw Lee Winnell, the guy who created Saw, and is a famous Hollywood director, being like, I tweeted that I loved the Deftones, and before I knew it, I was filming their next music video. This is why you should tweet about the things you love and not the things you hate. You never know what might happen. And it's like, dude, you made Saw. What are you talking about?
Right.
Like,
right.
Of course that would happen to you.
Yeah, let me tweet about the Deftones or something and see how quickly they pick up on the shit stain artist I am on the side of the sidewalk.
Exactly. I mean, that's an easy attitude to like dwell on, really, and it is like a dirty fuel. It's like drinking coffee all the time. You just fuck yourself up.
Oh God, yes.
I've been trying to cut down on coffee myself because I've just been like The Walking Dead. And you're getting older, and you can't just kind of like slouch around half awake all the time, or you're going to fuck your bones up or whatever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I got to find a better way than coffee pretty soon. I seem to do that for a little bit, and then it's the drug that kind of pulls me back, But like you do tea or something for a little bit, then you're like, yeah, I could stand a cup of coffee.
Bananas are good for energy, but yeah, coffee, it's just so addictive, and so much of it's advertised out the ass by culture. Like, you just see coffee everywhere you go. Every time you hear about someone drinking a cup of coffee, you want to have one. Let's get into like podcasty stuff. So, sure. Deidre, Pitface.
Yeah.
Your work like tends to revolve around certain themes and aesthetics, which is how I found your work in the first place. I think I was like 16 and on DeviantArt and like Google thrash metal artwork. Like your art is like based around thrash metal and the aesthetics of like thrash metal covers and horror and war and apocalyptic imagery and stuff, and it's all very, very awesome. Like your I don't know, I doubt it was your first comic you ever made, but the first comic that I saw of yours and the first comic you kind of like was a thing online that you've now completed and deserves a physical release, as I've been trying to bully you into doing for years, is Putrid Meat. It's an amazing comic. Could you give the quick pitch of what Putrid Meat is to the listeners?
Sure. So, in the dretches of Septica lurks the orange-haired thrash metal demon Bones. Oh, he's not a demon, but it's too hard to. He's a mutant. Okay, he's a mutant. Anyway, whatever. He's not like X-Men mutant, but like he's just like if you took Wolverine and you rolled him in shit and you made him even more amoral, and he doesn't have any superpowers. He's just a fat drunk loser who doesn't really die. Anyway, so his name is Bones, and he is the garbage man for Septica's serial killer deranged. But one day, a new antagonist comes to town and wants to take Bones' territory, but can the menace fight back? See, I'm really bad at this. Anyway, it's Putrid Meat. Read it before you throw it in the trash. It's pretty good. I promise you'll get a laugh or two out of it. But yeah, that was my stinky passion project. And let's see, it's been finished for a few years now, but that was, I think, it lasted for about 10 years. And it's how I really came into my own kind of it's the culmination of finding my style and telling the story I wanted to tell. And I've been putting that story together in my head for years. And it was something completely different when I first started thinking of it. But, the more I started to batten it down and starting it over and over again before I got to publishing it online, the more it became the wretched little monster that I wanted it to. So, and that's exactly how I reeled in lots of people. That thrash metal aesthetic. It's very niche, but it's a special kind of niche. That I think people just see it and just kind of get it if that's the kind of wavelength that they're on.
Yeah, especially around the time when you started it, which was before the big thrash metal revival kind of really hit the mainstream, and people were, those who kept the faith or were discovering the faith were really, really hungry for some kind of something to scratch that itch outside of the old 80s bands and stuff. So it was a good time to do it. What was it now? See, one of the things that you excel at that a lot of independent artists struggle with is actually finishing your projects. What motivated you to actually go it, fuck it, I'm doing this comic, I'm going to do this myself, I'm going to start it and I'm going to keep going? And then what motivated you to actually complete it, work on it for all those years and actually get it done?
Rage. It's making comics has always been a hobby of mine. I don't think I know how to exist without doing it. So it would have been harder for me not to do anything at all. And Putrid Meat is such a story that as long as I was working on it, it always sounded good to me. It was always something that I wanted to do. It was always a part of my heart. And when it came time to end it, I felt like it was a good time to end it, kind of take Old Yeller out back. She didn't overstay her welcome. And it was time by that time to move on to other projects. But yeah, I do, like many artists, have a arsenal of uncompleted comics that never quite made the cut that Putrid Meat did, or maybe someday still will, the Epic of Blitzov. I think I was still excuse me, tripping over my own tongue. I think I'm still going to return to that one day after I get that ironed out a little bit more. I still really like the Epic of Blitzov. It's kind of tied to Putrid Meat. But right now, Inhabitants is the project I've been putting together for about the last year. And much like Putrid Meat had scratched the aesthetic itch that I had back then, this is a kind of new monster that's doing the same thing, and it's giving me new story elements that I want to use and new art aesthetics and stuff like that. It's a little bit more neon than Putrid Meat. It's a little less puke encrusted, a little bit more neon. It's like, the way I think about it is like if Sailor Moon met Gwar, and that's basically the aesthetic for the inhabitants it's going to have.
Hell yeah! And where are you uploading that at the moment? Are you still on the Duck? Or
yeah, I'm on the Duck, and I'm on tapas.com. I might get my own web addy one day, but we'll see. For now, I'm just kind of trying to get some merch and stuff in line. Maybe go to a few conventions once there's less of a chance of dying while amongst people. But
you should. I keep telling you and Mike that you two should move to Twitter and just keep posting your art on Twitter, because visual art is really, really popular over there. People love that they can just look at something, see that it's cool, take it in 1.5 seconds, like it and share it. Like that is the master key to success on Twitter. Highly recommend. Don't get involved in any of the political debates on there. That's a vortex of madness. But definitely post your cool art, and that would be a really good way of getting people on your comic. I love that first panel of Inhabitants where it's just going down this smoke trail into the ground.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah,
it's comics are great for that kind of thing.
They really are. This is my first comic using that infinite canvas layout, and I really like it. The only thing that sucks about it is you can't really bring it to print that way, at least not in that kind of format. But I think at some point I might try to put a couple little zines together at least, or something for a Patreon or I don't know. But yeah, that infinite canvas, it lends itself to digital storytelling so well, because you can fuck with the like timing and rhythm more, if that makes sense, of how the panels are laid out. Instead of squishing everything onto a small page that's supposed to be designed for print, you can really just let the whole story unravel like a scroll, you know?
It's very cinematic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very interesting. Yeah, again, it's kind of hard to get it into print, but definitely not impossible. That's for sure. God, yeah, like you talking about zines. I want them Putrid Meat zines. I need them on my shelf.
You know, those might come someday. That might be the way to do it. Because I remember one time, I did have it for sale on print. I think it was like on Kazam or something like that, or one of those sites. And I totally forgot about it. Excuse me while I go through puberty. I totally forgot about it. And then last time I went to go check on it, I couldn't find it on there at all. So I don't know if after some time they just took it down, and formatting it to make it printable was kind of a pain, because especially those first pages are a different format than the later pages. So I would just put like 2 pages together per printed page. So I'd have to go through and do that again, and I'm just very lazy. But one day, I mean, I've had enough people be like, give me some Putrid Meat, you know? So I might do it again one day. I should. I really should.
Yeah,
I do love it.
Preservation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I am an archaeologist. I do want to preserve the arts, the finer arts of our humanity, maybe send it into space one day. We could make contact to other alien intelligences via Putrid Meat, thrash metal, and our gummy artwork, and
definitely better than a stupid vinyl that they sent in the Voyager spacecraft. Because how the fuck are the aliens gonna know how to play a vinyl? They can look at a comic and they can insinuate thrash metal, because
that's right.
That is the universal language. But they wouldn't be able to play any of our music devices.
No, they'll scratch it all up, because they're all in like super digital brain frequencies now, and they're like, what's this? And then they fuck it up, and then our civilization is lost forever.
Finally.
Because we're dead by then. We're all dead by then. Yeah, maybe.
So I do want to talk about archaeology definitely, but first I want to go back a little bit, and I'm really interested in like your origins with thrash and horror and stuff like that. It seems like that was just in the air, you know, in the sort of time and place that you grew up. But how did the tendrils of those two Lovecraftian beasts like find your brains while you were growing up?
I don't really know. Because none of my friends were into it. I used to listen to a lot of uh, metal CDs, not even necessarily metal, but like a lot of music with my brother when I was growing up, and he's like 11 years older than I am. So, like, I was like 5 years old, and listening to like The Residents and like Primus and all that kind of shit. But I remember I found thrash metal on one of these excursions with him. I don't think I was yet in my teenage years. I was probably around 11 or 12. I don't know. But anyway, he put on a Countdown to Extinction, and Sweating Bullets came on, and I fell in love. And from there, um, I was just kind of entranced. I became obsessed, not just with like Megadeth, but from that, I got into what thrash metal was and stuff. And so, um, yeah, it's just something about it. I'm not sure what it was, but the taste of thrash metal and its aesthetic, you know, everything just really spoke to me. I don't know if it was because I was just a reject from the 80s that was born too late or what, but um, or maybe it even called some kind of nostalgia. I mean, I was 5 by the time the 80s ended, but um, I don't know. I've always kind of been like that. Maybe a little ahead of things. I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn because I'm not a fashionista by any extent of the imagination, but I got super into it when it was very much in a lull, you know? So I even did the Jason Newsted thing where I did the whole undershave, you know, and nobody was doing it back then in like 2003. And I remember I was walking down the hall and these jocks were laughing at me in school and, you know, shouting at each other down the hall and shit. And what's this? What's that stupid haircut? And now everybody's doing it, you know. But yeah, I don't know. It was just, I caught the bug. You know, I caught the thrash bug, and
I think there's a kind of catharsis that kind of metal offers, and a kind of like, again, like the aesthetic, not just the like fashion, but like the lyrical themes about political corruption and you know, geopolitics, and then also like horror movies and killer animals and stuff like that. Has this kind of spirit to it that I think it's a kind of thing that like certain types of people like just look for even when they don't know it's out there. Because I remember growing up in rural Ireland with dial-up internet, and the only like heavy music that was on was fucking Kerrang, so it was like more emo and metalcore and stuff. And I remember being like, I like the loudness, but I don't like the way they're dressing and the stuff they're singing about. I used to fucking take Evanescence songs and like speed them up on my computer and listen to them at like 3 times speed. And I was like, this is much better. I like it way more like this. And I was in my like late teens by the time I discovered like the first thrash band that I discovered was Send More Paramedics, which was like a zombie core, like all their songs were about zombies and shit, and they were really, really good. And they gave me the bug properly, and I was like, okay, so there's actually good stuff out there. And I went looking. I found Exodus. Exodus was the fuck. It was around the time that I found Exodus that I found your profile on DeviantArt as well, and we started talking and stuff. Which that was a really fun coincidence because, like, I started reading your comics and stuff on DeviantArt around the same time that I started becoming friends with Mike, Monger, our mutual friend, who I'm definitely going to have on this podcast, on the Splatterhouse forum. And then like a year down the line, I realized that you two knew each other in real life. And I was like, holy shit, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's kind of proof that our niche little tastes were slowly drawing us together all in the same circle. Because I met Mike through Dead World Forum, for the comic, and we started talking about the zombies and stuff. And Mike has never really been into like thrash metal. He's much more of like industrial, like yeah. Mike is he's a one of a kind beast. But he's kind of that other flavor from back then too. He's what would you? Yeah,
he's a garbage pail goth. That's what he is.
He is. He is garbage pail goth. Yeah, because you have to make that distinction because he sure shit isn't like Flock of Seagulls. He's like, I'm sad and I'm gonna rip your spine out and that'll make me happy. Like, which is funny because he's a sweet dude. Like, he's an awesome dude. He's a good person. But holy shit, if you saw him, like, I'm sure he scares people like old ladies on the street on the regular, just like lurking, it's like bald head and shit. But anyway, yeah, it's some kind of maybe a sign of the end times that the three of us eventually met this way, and started to become closer and closer. I have a feeling there's some project or something we're going to cook up that becomes the culmination of all of our personalities, and it's just going to be amazing somehow, some way, if we can manage to see it through.
Yeah, but I've been writing, like I reached out to you earlier in the week about this project that me and Mike have been writing, and I've just been really enjoying writing in the tone that he has, because his stuff is so dark, but so like over the top. It's just like a constant Cannibal Corpse album cover.
It is 100%. It's exactly it.
I remember he told me years ago that you two were like hanging out in an abandoned building or something one time, and you got like a cop like showed up, and while Mike was dressed like a vampire.
Yeah, so we were okay. So okay, me, him, and another friend of ours, Jason. We were just running around town at night. What the hell else are we gonna do? I think we were barely in our 20s, if that. And let's see. First, I can't remember half the night now. If Mike was here, he'd be able to say more about it. But anyway, we eventually ended up in a graveyard. Because, well, of course we fucking did. And we were walking around. It was kind of a larger graveyard. And Mike did something creepy in that there was supposed to be some guy there that like killed his wife or something, or killed some people, and like Mike mentioned it, and then he just happened to like be standing over his grave at the time, and like I don't know, it was something weird like that. But anyway, we later on we ended up back at said graveyard, and it was dark out, and the perfect setting for like Return of the Living Dead, some stupid ass punks running around in this cemetery in the middle of the night, having no business being there. But the gates were all closed, so I guess we snuck in somehow, and a cop pulled in through another gate. We're like, shit, it's the Fuzz, run! So Mike describes this far better than I do, but so me, him, and Jason run towards the gate, and Mike gallivants over it like a gazelle. I have no idea. He just like defies gravity and sends his person over it, and I slide under it like a greased carp. Jason, the larger of us, he gets stuck. He gets stuck, and he's like, guys, help! And he's like wiggling under this fence. And we're like, I don't know, man. Oh, do we leave him? What do we do? And eventually he got out of there. And I don't even know if the cops noticed this, but it was, just part of our gallivanting. There was another graveyard incident one time when we were at a cemetery near my house, because this was just something that we did a lot. And somebody pulled in and sat there for a while, and we figured like they're probably just getting high or something. And then the dude gets out, goes to the trunk of his car, and there was like some sound, something that just didn't sound right. So we got the hell out of there too. But yeah, we have lots of little stories like this where you're out just kind of running around with your friends and get into some kind of trouble. But yeah,
A misspent youth, well spent.
exactly. Yeah, that's what it is.
So aside from the kind of B-movie apocalyptic horror stuff, another theme period that you've been working with in your work for a while has been World War II. What is your like where did that come from? What's your connection to World War II? You got a secret?
I'm actually the reincarnation of Mussolini. Don't tell anybody.
Okay.
But that's why I have this big mustache. But no, I actually hadn't thought much about World War II until I started being friends with Tangerine Tanya on Drunk Duck, and she does the World War II World War II comic. She's Greek, and hers is about the Nazi occupation of Greece. So that was really interesting, and I started to learn more about that. And this always makes me sound bad. Disclaimer: I'm not a fucking Nazi. I don't subscribe to Nazi ideals. I think it's the worst fucking political ideology you could have for a number of reasons, not only because it's inherently harmful to everybody involved in and outside of that political ideology, but it's also super broken. You don't get better by cutting people out. That's fucking stupid. Stupid. National socialism is stupid. Anyway. But anyway, that disclaimer aside, I became very interested in German history, and especially since World War II. Well, since before it, because it's so weird. It's very dynamic. I don't know how you would describe it. It's weird. Like, they went through these two world wars where they were like the bad guys, and they survived, and then through the Cold War, and they've just have gone through all these different kind of identity changes and stuff like that. Their history is super amazing. It's super interesting, I would say. But anyway, so that got me interested in World War II, and then that interest has actually kind of morphed more into the Cold War now. I'm a bit more interested in that, and I think that interest connects up with, it's kind of coming full circle into, like, I think I was interested in a lot of the thrash metal stuff that I was interested in a way somewhat because of the Cold War. Not that I was super aware of it growing up, but looking back, what's one big theme of a lot of thrash metal songs, like nuclear annihilation and shit like that. And I think remembering things like that is almost nostalgic for me. And like how, like, thinking back about a lot of thrash metal covers, how they're very, they can be almost cartoony sometimes. Like there's that Exodus one, I think it's Fabulous Disaster, where they're all, what was that?
The shoe, just a pair of shoes with smoke coming out of them.
No, isn't an altar? I thought it was where they're all.
Oh, you're talking about the cover where they're all sitting around the TV and they're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, and then one of them, I can't remember which one, is like laughing at it, but it's got that very neon color from like the TV, and like the whole room's a mess, and they've all got their long hair, but like they're all watching the TV in Fabulous Disaster. It makes you think of like a nuclear crisis and stuff like that, and I think that is the big part of what kind of wormed itself into I don't know if you call it personality, aesthetic, into like my awareness as a person and the flavors of the things that I like. Not that I crave nuclear annihilation, but like I it's familiar to me, that world, in a sense, you know. So I think coming full circle, um, that yeah, that it just resonates. And then, you know, the whole political thing at the time with like Reaganomics and the, you know, capitalism becoming this big unfettered machine, and the fallout from that and stuff.
I've been really interested lately in art that explores the unnaturalness of the Industrial Revolution and the Atomic Age specifically, like bands like Portal. There was a band by a band. There was a band by a band. There was an album by a band called Imperial Triumphant called Alphaville, and they have a song called The Atomic Age, which is just really, really ugly and gross. And then there's Twin Peaks 3, where they compare, you know, they kind of compare like the nuclear testing, the first atomic bomb, with as a microcosm of the macrocosm of all of man's evil and stuff. So I think that shit's really fascinating. Also, the Fabulous Disaster cover I was thinking of with the shoes, that was the original cover, but it got banned. It was literally just a picture of a pair of shoes with smoke coming out of it, as if someone had been blown out of their shoes, and it was banned, so they had to use that other cover.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
So, this comic that you and Tans did, what is it? I believe it's called Brave Resistance.
Brave Resistance, yeah. Oh, I was going to get into it, and then I got all caught up in my own. I'm not a Nazi, I swear to God, guys. I'm really not. Yeah, it's a World War II comic. I haven't worked on it for quite a while, and I feel very bad about that. I guess because it's almost too real. Like, I don't know. I need a little bit more neon, but it's a great story. It's basically about this American fighter pilot named Hunter, and he's Native American, and he crash lands in Greece during this secret mission, and in northern Greece, and Greece by that time is occupied by the Nazis, and so he's brought in by the resistance up in the mountains, which the Greek resistance at the time is really fascinating. Look it up if you ever want to look at that kind of unknown history. Stuff like that's really cool. But anyway, so he gets better. And he makes friends with the Greek resistance, and by the end he goes and helps them. Spoilers, but he goes and helps them take down the Nazi headquarters in the nearby town. So yeah, it's one of these days somebody will finish it. I might just see about having another artist come in, since I just can't seem to keep up. It feels very unfair because, like I said, it's a very good story that we wrote together, and it deserves to be finished. So we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, Brave Resistance.
I know how you feel. Like, I find it really hard these days to do like remixes and collaborations and stuff, because I have such limited energy that when I'm working on stuff, it's got to be my own projects. Like, there's a few exceptions, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard to find the time and energy.
Yeah, it's finite, and it's like, you know, especially when you have projects that you're super excited about, because it feels like giving time to anything else is like, I don't know, I guess like watching porn and not finishing, you know, like you have this urge, like I need to go do this thing. It's more than that, though. It's like, I think, one product of what's been going on lately, well, probably for the past 5 years, actually, I've been becoming more and more aware of my own mortality, and I think about it quite a lot. Sometimes to the point where I just need to find something else to think about, but I'm very aware, like at any second, like you could drop dead. And then that awareness makes me think like, well, when I'm not working on these projects, like, you know, that's more chance of this thing never getting done, of something happening to me in the meantime, and then the story is never completed, and then it just gets lost in a file, you know, somewhere, or nobody knows what I would have done with it, you know. So yeah, there's kind of an urgency now. So it's like things that I am not super into, like I don't really do commissions anymore because, well, one, I've got like steady income for the moment, and two, it's just like, you know, I'm putting all this effort into creating this artwork. I want to do it for something that I want to leave behind as kind of a legacy. But I'm actually really excited to hear about what you and Mike have been cooking up, because I loved doing stuff with Mike, and all three of us kind of jive the same way. So
that comic that you and Mike did ages ago, World Without Flesh.
World Without Flesh,
I love that. That's some of the creepiest shit I've ever read. I wish there had been more of that for sure. The thing that me and Mike have been working on is definitely in the same vein, definitely set in the same universe and everything. It is more or less a World Without Flesh comic, but under a different name.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's really great. I'm. It's kind of like when you said it was like zombie adjacent and stuff. My mind definitely went to World Without Flesh, but he worked on that so long ago that I'm curious to see what kind of beast it's become, especially with your input.
Oh yeah, like he's been talking. He's never shut up about World Without Flesh. Like, well, I'm always asking him about it, but like it's gone through so many different forms. Like we were going to work on a novel of it, because the thing with Mike is Mike has all these great ideas, and he's a very, very talented writer. He's my favorite writer, but he just doesn't have the time and energy and the resources to finish his projects. So I've been helping him. You know, I've been taking on writing duties on these things. You know, it was going to be a book, now it's a short comic, and hopefully now that he's moved into his new place and he now has a studio, he's going to have time to get some of those projects. Because speaking of, like, I don't just worry about my own legacy. I want to see fucking Mike's stuff. You know, I want it to get out there and infect as many brains as possible. His work has had such a profound effect on me as a creator, for sure.
Yeah, it feels like it would be a tragedy if that were to get lost, doesn't it? Like, if some part of Mike's brain wasn't preserved through art in some way, like, you know what I mean? It would be a tragedy.
Yeah, I keep trying to get him to even just take like his Splatterhouse fan fictions and all the like. He used to make these like ads for them on and post them on like fake newspaper clippings and shit, and post them on the Splatterhouse forum. And I'm like, you still have those? Make a zine. I buy that. And zines are great.
Totally.
I love zines. They're cheap to make. They look cool. They fit in your shelf real easy. They're great.
They're great. They're easily consumable little fixes.
Yeah.
You know, with the way our artistic endeavors come together, though, I've been thinking about this a lot more lately, especially since I've been working on that video with that Inhabitants cover I've been making, because I've been doing that every time I work on it. I specifically put on your music. I put on Surgery Head.
Cool.
And like, I've always known you've been a super talented musician. But for some reason, it's so easy for me to forget how talented you are. I guess because I haven't been on SoundCloud, but like, I'm jamming your shit out lately.
Hell yeah.
It sparks me in a way that I don't get from anything else. Like, it has a specific flavor to it that goes with Mike's writing perfectly. It goes with what I'm trying to make perfectly. And I don't know, I keep on coming back to it, but I feel like we're creating this vortex of this kind of adjacent talent that's coming together somehow, some way, whether we just make a new brand of something, I don't know, but you're an amazing musician, truly.
Thanks so
Truly.
much. I mean, I'm glad that the music's having that effect on you very much. I mean, considering that the first Surgery Head EP was all just like named, the songs were just named like B Movie King and Pitface and Corpse Monger and Bike Fist. Like it was just like everybody, that little group named after everybody in that little group, for sure. So yeah. I'm really happy about that, and I'm happy that like Owen's got his RPG thing. But you've always had your comics. I'm getting stuff out there. Mike's getting stuff out there. Like he's been getting stuff out there on and off, like the Dead World comic and stuff. Oh yeah, like you and Mike eventually got to work on Dead World after all those years. That must have been cool. It was a weird, production, but it was The Dead, wasn't it? It was
The Dead, yeah. The same kind of people, well, except for Gary Reed, but like the same kind of Arrow people. It was written by Stu Kerr and Ralph Griffith. May he rest in peace. By the way, he passed this last year. Both awesome guys, straight out of the Detroit comic scene, and a lot of people aren't aware how involved they were with underground comics back in like the 80s and stuff like that, the 80s and 90s, with Arrow Comics and Caliber Comics and stuff, and Gary Reed and everything. I didn't know, but the original the Crow comic started with Caliber Comics, I think, and then Vince Locke came out of that too, who works on the Cannibal Corpse covers and stuff. And
really, I had no idea. So it only makes sense that he came back to do the cover of the Dead Omnibus, for sure.
Yeah, that cover with the zombie eating out like the nurse or whatever. It's very reminiscent of Eaten Back to Life. Like, oh yeah, that is Vince Locke.
Yep. Definitely a cover you have to turn away from display when the grandparents come over. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's currently sitting at my mom's house in a drawer somewhere, and it's got like, I still have that, like, in the plastic that it came in, and it's got that little strip of thin cardboard they put at the bottom of it to like block out that bottom part, and I keep that in there religiously, like for my mother's sake,
Excellent. Yeah, that was a cool project. It's again, I don't want to talk trash on anybody, but I was really excited for what Mike had been writing for the continuation of The Dead, and it ended up getting squished into like 10 pages, and I remember finally getting a hold of it, and I was like, oh, this is disappointing. But like it seemed like, as with all indie comics, it was a titanic struggle to even get the thing like put on paper. Because comics is a brutal, painful business. I don't know what it is.
It really is.
Like, getting people together on a movie set to shoot, it's hard, it's expensive. But getting, like, even two people, like a writer and an artist, to complete a 30-page comic is so fucking difficult. and again, really expensive.
Yeah. Pulling teeth, and it's always either like somebody doesn't have money to do X, or because there's never anybody, you don't get people that are like, here, I'll fund your little comic project,
unless you're already famous, unless you're Keanu Reeves or Emilia Clarke or whatever.
Yeah, otherwise, like, you're doing all of the printing, you're doing all the distribution, you're getting all the talent together, you're making sure everybody is paid, if anybody's getting paid, and then, like, God help you, it's crazy. It's and their projects that often do take a long time. It's pulling teeth. But The Dead, I'm glad that at least that omnibus came out. I really loved working on The Dead. I think I did like 2 issues, was it 2.5, something like that. And not to blow my own horn, but Officer Nice was my idea.
He's such a great villain.
Creation. Oh, I love him, and they did such great things with him. Ralph and Stu did, because I came up with the idea because Officer Nice, being into thrash, you might recognize that that's a Violence song.
Hell yeah.
Who is right,
Criminals
Officer
of the
Nice?
law.
So I ripped off the name. Yeah, yeah. And made this zombie police officer, and Ralph and Stu, they just took it and made it into the most gruesome thing. And I love it because he's got like this kind of twisted sense of humor, and I think that's the best kind of zombie. He's almost like Zombie King adjacent, like they took that kind of magic and put it into Officer Nice, and he's just a nasty cop, the worst of the worst. And now he was the worst of the worst when he was alive, and now that he's a zombie, it just suits him all the more. He's just he owns that violence, he owns that vileness, so he was so fun. And then he terrorizes those kids.
I want to see those.
Which one?
I just want to see that, like, those first 2 Dead issues, and then like expanded more for a movie. Like, they're like, yeah. It would just be so cool, just nonstop. Like the big fat zombie in the shed with the saw, and just the way that all unfolded was really, really cinematic.
Farmer Vincent, another and he was Ralph and Stu's creation for sure. That's another homage to what's it called? Oh, Farmer Vincent. Well, that old movie.
Motel Hell?
Motel Hell, that's it. Yeah.
Nice. So we've hit about 50 minutes. I think we're going to have you back on the podcast sometime to talk about archaeology, because I'm sure we could go on about archaeology and history for another hour. But before we wrap up, let's talk about Inhabitants. It's a very mysterious comic it's got like a kind of The Witch aesthetic with a bit of like color out of space in there. What's going on there? Where'd that come from?
Well, like I said, it's been kind of brewing for a little while. It's the main character. He's a little boy so far, but the main character is named Helmut. There's that German history minor again coming into play, but Helmut. It's just a badass name. Hell and like mutt, anyway. But but yeah. It's starting off right now with his childhood, and I have very much given it kind of a folklore aesthetic. It's kind of taking notes from like the old Irish myth about Halloween, and like the devil, the guy with like the turnip lantern and stuff. So I've made this kind of turnip demon out of it that's like menacing Helmut and everybody around and stuff, and what comes from that. But basically what's going to end up happening is it's going to totally kind of shift gears into this other world, and there's an apartment complex that's being built on the fringes of the world of the dead, and it's supposed to house all of humanity in it, all of living humanity, because there's like the world is fucked from global warming, and so like there's these dream creatures that come, these kind of mysterious beings, and start trying to get people to move into this apartment. So and Helmut's job there is kind of as an exterminator. So sometimes these like ghosts and distortions and stuff like that try to get in, so he's supposed to keep them out, but it kind of gets out of hand in certain ways and stuff. It's awesome. Oh, thank you very much. He's got a magical girl transformation. He goes from this kind of noseless, leprosy-ridden dude to this like bondage, like S&M gear, like superhero kind of thing. He's got you just have to see it. I love his designs so much. He's like got the full on like get mask and stuff like that, and
you're blowing
he has to go
mind.
And like thank you. See, it's like I had to just do the things that made me happy. It's like watching Psycho Gorman when it came out. It just made my soul happy, and that's what
Yes.
Inhabited does. So
Yes, Psycho Gorman really inspired me to write something as well. Like there, I have this whole like movie or comic. Like I've got an artist interested in working with me on a comic, and I was like, oh, we should do this thing that I came up with while I was watching Psycho Gorman. So yeah, Psycho Gorman was like a fucking grenade into the into the cultural consciousness for sure.
yeah, yeah. And I can't help but think that it was made by people just like us. You know,
Absolutely.
like
That concept you have, like you're going from Irish myth and like folklore to the idea of building apartment complexes on the mouth of the world of the dead, like that. These are like, I've thought about that so much. Like I've been to bunches of sacred sites in Ireland. Like I've been out to, you know, Standing Stones and stuff like that, and I've like, you know, I've gone there sober, I've spent the night there, I've like taken psychedelics there, and the way those places are, like the weird shit that happens there, I've often thought about like, man, like Silent Hill is just like if you took one of these places and built a town on it, right? Like, so the idea of like
yeah.
putting an apartment complex on like the Hill of Tara or something is something I've thought about a lot. So like that comic idea, like that just pinged something in my head real hard. So like I'm super excited to read more of that.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, you do certainly come from a land that's full of all sorts of nooks and crannies of, you know, who knows what kind of fae can be lurking there. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit, that's for sure. And I want to keep it preserved, god damn it.
do it. Do it. Preserve your weird shit.
Yes. If you take a weird shit, put it in a jar, label it, preserve it.
Take a picture of it, put it on Instagram.
Definitely. Instant million followers, instant sponsorships. That's the cipher key to the internet. All right, I think we'll leave it there, and because we have to get to our day jobs. But thanks so much for coming on the show. It was great to talk to you. It's been a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I miss you bunches.
Yeah, same. It's so hard to maintain these like fucking, you know, friendships that you build over the years, because new stuff comes up and you get responsibilities and life becomes this horrible grind. It's hard to like, you can feel the old soul still in your body, but it's hard to like bring it to the surface.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I think that's really right.
I'm looking forward now once we start this group chat for this comic, and I'm thinking like this is off podcast now. I'm thinking we'll figure out